Okay. No, I got everybody who had they're going to be here. We have a quorum. We will get started. So I just get my paper. Sorry, feeling a bit disorganized. Busy weekend. Lots of things going on. Hope everybody had an enjoyable 4th of July.
And quiet. Mhm.
Quiet is not always bad.
Right. I know.
So, I'm going to call the meeting at 9:04. I apologize, Robin. I completely forgot about approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I will do that for the next one with both of these. Um, so, roll call is Lisa Bloom, Carrie Battersby, myself, Robin Ivy, and Kevin Cormier. By the way, welcome, Kevin, in your new role.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you. Um, no doubt Nancy has informed you about working with the school committee,
Yep.
especially I usually have a lot of questions. So, in any case, so the first thing I'd like to do is the annual calendar meeting. I did share this with everybody. There was a small change, obviously, because I didn't get started when I wanted to. Um, but I'm looking at basically the same calendar that we had the last year. Kevin and Carrie, you weren't here. So basically what I'm doing is 2 meetings a month for policy. The first meeting, we're going to do Tuesdays at 9 a.m. The first meeting is going to be the 5-year review cycle that we're trying to get through to make sure that we're all, at least every 5 years, going through every one of our policies. The second meeting of the month is for policies that come up that need changing, that laws change, that we need to update our policies, anything out of the ordinary and out of that cycle of the 5-year to make sure that we're staying with current policies for the law as well as for the district to function properly. What I have found over the years is having just one meeting is those changes in policies very quickly overtake the 5-year review cycle, and then we never seem to get to the 5-year review cycle. Um, so can everybody see the meeting calendar? I try to make sure when I'm going through it that we're not hitting any vacation weeks, that we're not hitting any big dates, that we need to change them.
Sorry to interrupt, Randy. I just wanted to make sure. Carrie, were you able to find the folder? I generally try to put a link to the packet in the a meeting invite. I just wanted to make sure you were able to find it okay.
Oh yeah, I have
Okay, fantastic.
it.
No. Does anybody have any input or changes they'd like to make to the meeting calendar or any comments?
I think it's good. I haven't gone through my whole year, but most of the time the
Okay, and
Tuesdays
we
are
can make
always good.
changes on the fly as well. I mean, this is just kind of a basic so that we know we have meetings. If something needs to get canceled because something comes up or people can't make it, we can always move things around. That's not a problem.
Mm.
Okay. So if I can get a motion to accept the meeting calendar as presented.
I move to accept FY26 policy subcommittee meeting calendar.
Do I have a second, Carrie? Okay. Okay. Then we'll vote. So Lisa,
Yes.
Carrie. Okay, I'm not hearing you, Carrie.
I can't hear her either.
No. Okay.
That better?
Yes,
Yes.
now I can hear you. Sometimes it's just a matter of where you have the setting on what microphone the computer is using. It's baffled me many a times. So, okay, great. There's a couple of things that that I'm still trying to get in line to make this a little bit easier. Last year, there were 2 documents that I had. I had tried starting a policy review request form. I'm going to get that finalized and put out to everybody so that anybody on the staff, if they have a policy they would like us to look at for any particular reason, they can put it on there versus just an email to me, which sometimes gets lost. So I want to try and centralize any requests to look at policies. And then also just kind of try and keep better track of the policies and when they're on the agendas. I have a document I'm making changes to what we did last year. The other order of business, which I didn't have on here, but it's administrative, so I don't think it's a problem to add to it, is last year Lisa Bloom kind of took charge of the 5-year review meeting, and she put together the agenda, put together any changes that are recommended through the MASC or updates that are needed through there, and presented that portion of these meetings to help me out. Are we all good with that same structure where Lisa Bloom will take the 5-year reviews and I will take charge of the other meetings? Lisa, is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we will continue with that. So we have a couple of policies on here. Policy ADDA for background checks. I put all 3 of our background checks on here. This is something that came up through the CPAC president, Rochelle Baum, had asked us about instead of just doing queries and stories, that there's a process that we can go through the DCF for basically it's charges that were brought against but never formalized against people in the case of the children because they didn't want to go through with the whole process, the children testifying or anything like that. But it still should be a flag. There is a form. I've spoken with Anne Marie about whether this is possible to add, make sure that's not putting a burden on the district. And she says it is not. She sent me the form. It's just simply one extra form to fill out for the department central registry record request for child placement, employment, or licensure. If everybody here agrees on adding this check, a lot of districts are starting to do that just to make sure that nobody that can endanger the children is slipping through the cracks with the queries and the stories. Then I can work with Anne Marie on the exact language of putting this form in and getting that process started. Are there any comments on that? Okay, then I will bring it back the next meeting with any changes that we need to have in the language. Probably run it through the attorney, make sure that anything we have in there is legal. And I'll have a policy for everyone to vote on. Okay. Moving right along, the next one is policy JLCB immunization of students. This policy, I have some updated language. This came straight from Catherine Hampson, who is the Director of Health. And basically, we had a form in place. It wasn't called out specifically in the policy, and it was causing her a lot of problems because parents who wanted to opt their children out of immunizations for religious reasons were sending her all kinds of different forms, all kinds of different letters, 10-page letters on exactly why this and that, when all it really requires is a simple form to get from the nurse, fill it out, and submit it. So the language in here, everything in green, if you're looking at the policy, is the wording from Catherine Hampson. Basically just saying that the only exception to these requirements is either a medical exemption or religious exemption. A medical exemption requires a written statement from a doctor that an immunization would not be in the best interest of the child. A religious exemption for those families who believe that vaccination or immunization is contrary to their religious beliefs. An immunization vaccination exemption form can be obtained from the school nurse. This form should be completed and signed by the parent or guardian and submitted to the school nurse. The letters or forms are required to be resubmitted annually prior to the start of each school year. It's fairly straightforward. If anybody has any changes to that, we can certainly entertain that. Any questions or comments on this change?
No.
Then I will take a motion to accept the change and present this to the full school committee.
I move to accept the change. Do I have to read out the whole thing?
No,
Or no? Okay.
for
I move to
JLCB for
accept.
a first reading. Sorry.
Okay. For the policy JLCB.
For a first reading, but
For the first,
I'm a
for the
little
first
rusty
reading.
on this. Yeah, Lisa, first
I gotta
meeting.
get back in.
Yeah, I know the wording.
For the-
So, okay. So Lisa, yes or no?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Yes, and I vote yes. Okay, moving right along. Unfortunately, we will have a snag. It's not going to be this quick. I'm going to take IKF before the regional agreement. If everyone's okay with that? Okay. So with IKF, this is another one that we have two choices here. I was looking at this. So with the vote for the MCAS not to be a requirement for 10th grade for graduation anymore, Gary had presented us, I believe it was back in January or February, with the competency determination pathways. And basically this lays out, you can take the MCAS and pass them, or there's two other pathways of being able to get the credits in order to graduate. He laid it out in a nice little document, the competency determination recommendations. It was shared with everybody. If people need it to be shared again, let me know, and I can certainly share this out. But basically, we can either incorporate this into IKF, or I've seen a couple of districts actually have a secondary policy, IKF-A or -1, however they're going to put it, IKF-A, I think it was, of competency determinations. So we have the graduation requirements, which talks about the number of credits throughout high school, and then the competency determination as a separate document. Do we have a feeling on which one would be easier to follow for parents and for staff? Kevin, you kind of came from that realm. Any suggestions from you?
I mean, I think separating it out is probably good because once the governor's council comes out with their recommendations, it might change anyway. So rather than rewrite an entire thing to rewrite, you might just want it as an A that is a easier rewrite in 2 years.
Okay. All right. So what I can do is I can take the competency determination, create a policy, IKFA as a new policy, bring that next time. And then IKF, what we'll need to do is just make a statement that in addition to these graduation requirements for the credits, that they'll also have to follow the determination in policy IKFA. That makes sense. Instead of trying to do the wording here, why don't I bring both of those back? And we'll do the two of them together. It makes sense to bring them to the school committee together anyway, so they can see that. Okay. And that brings us to what's probably going to take the rest of the hour, talking about the regional agreement. The regional agreement was put into the policy subcommittee a number of years ago when we first started this process. We had gone through and gotten a lot of, it's been a long process. So kind of, Carrie, bring you up to speed. Lisa, it's been quiet for a while, so I'll bring you up to speed on what's been going on. Is about 3 years ago, we started this process. I had a lot of community meetings, groups, worked with, everyone from the town governments and our attorney, and came up with changes that needed to happen because our regional agreement has not been updated since 1991, I believe. So many things were pretty much defaulting to the current law versus what our regional agreement said anyway. We were moving right along until we hit a snag with the representation, and the representation that we have right now, with the 3 at-large members, 3 from Pepperell, 2 from Townsend, and 1 from Ashby, was court ordered to have that in order to meet the one person, one vote back in 91. Why it doesn't meet muster now when the populations haven't changed much since then, I'm not sure, but the DESC was very adamant that we no longer meet the one person, one vote requirement. We've played with a lot of different. I'm sorry. Did someone say something? Okay, I apologize. So we had gone through a couple of different scenarios. We had settled at the time, and we're working on trying to put through 4 members from Pepperell, 3 from Townsend, 1 from Ashby, and 1 at-large member. Because of the closing or the vote to close Ashby, we kind of halted conversations with the DESC because in our one change we had made was that every town needed an operating school, and that obviously was in violation or conflict with a vote that the school committee had taken. And so going forward with that was not good. Basically, we were trying to tell DESC that we are going to put something in place that contradicts what we are and what we've voted on. Coming back very quickly just to the representation, I'd like to bring that up again for consideration, because there is an option that we had on the table that I fundamentally misunderstood at the time and nobody corrected me, but now I see that it is very different than what I anticipated. One option that was presented to us from the DESC was to have all members, so all at-large members with town specifics basically, or requirements. And so it would be every town voted for all 9 members, broken up 3 each year. But we would say 4 from Pepperell, 3 from Townsend, 2 from Ashby, or 3, 3, and 3, or however we wanted to say the number of representatives from each town. My understanding at the time was that it still needed to meet the one person, one vote per population. It does not. If we wanted to, with the all at-large members, we can do 3, 3, and 3. I'd be a little worried that we, of getting 3 Ashby residents to run all the time. And Carrie, you'd have to, tell me. I'm not opposed to 3, 3, and 3, but in order to keep 9 members on the board all the time, we may want to think about a 4, 3, 2, and always have at least 2 members from Ashby. I leave that up to the committee for a recommendation. The other thing that having it all at-large members is the elections will move from April with the town elections to the November elections. They tried forcing us to do that with the at-large members that we have now, which would, in my opinion, was disastrous, having some people elected in April and some elected in November. But I think there's actually a lot of advantages to having everybody elected in November, because it takes it out of the middle of the budget process. So we're not going to have a change like this year. We had 3 members change over right in the middle of the budget season. The year before, we had 3 members come on right in the middle of a time when we were making cuts, and you had people coming onto the committee that not only weren't intimate with the budget and having to make decisions, but they weren't even sure how the school committee worked. By putting the elections in November, now we can get through a budget with a cohesive set of members, and there's time for new members to kind of come up to speed as the new budget season is starting. But I will take comments and recommendations from everybody else on what you think we should try and push forward with on the regional agreement, whether stick with what we have now and do the 4 members of Pepperell, 3 from Townsend, 1 from Ashby, and 1 at large, all elected in April, or have everybody elected in November with a 4-3-2 town requirement. Can't hear you, Carrie. There we go.
I personally like the 4-3-2, gives Ashby a little bit more of a voice. The only thing I worry about is, like you said, we're right in the middle of budget season and it's crazy. So, but I mean,
Well,
if I,
the 4-3-2 would work with in November elections.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
start doing budget stuff. But I mean, I kind of like that. If Ashby a little bit more voice, probably have about that. So, I mean, I would think that and then like follow the that one follow out.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I've been trying to turn this fan off on this computer and I can't figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so I would like the 4-3-2 votes in November, and then whoever was on, the second person from Ashby, I would help get caught up with the budget information. Hopefully that person would be paying attention to school committee meetings anyway.
Right. Basically, if we can get, I mean, this won't take effect until all three towns actually vote in the regional agreement, and we'd have to have in the regional agreement when it all, the transition to that, which should be fairly simple, but I haven't worked out those details yet. So, Lisa, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of think that might be better too, just because having the new members in, if the budget has been continued and hasn't been all approved and everything, it's very difficult, I think.
Okay.
So that would only be, then, so that would leave us just one at-large member?
No at large. Nobody, all three towns vote for every position, but 4 members would need to be from Pepperell, 3 from Townsend, and 2 from Ashby. And we would
no,
split them up
large,
kind of 3
okay.
each year and have residency requirements on the positions.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I don't really think there's really a need to have an at-large because every school committee member should represent all 3 towns.
Okay.
So,
Kevin, I know you haven't had a lot of experience with the school committee as far as the structure and all of that. I'm sorry I caught you eating.
Happened to me too, Kevin.
All right, we're good.
Didn't know if you had any thoughts on this at all.
I mean, I don't live in the community, so I don't think it's my place to really speak on the community.
Okay, and that's fair. Okay. If that is the case, if I can get a vote to present this change in representation to the full school committee to get a vote from the full school committee on whether to have this in the regional agreement, that would be great. So basically the vote would be to bring the new representation format of all at-large members with town residency of 4 from Pepperell, 3 from Townsend, 2 from Ashby to be elected in November. Somebody can just move that.
I'll move to change the representation of the.
Yeah, you can just say so moved to what I said.
The regional agreement of all 3 towns from 4 members from Pepperell, 3 members from Townsend, 2 members from Ashby to be elected in November
Okay.
election.
9 seconds.
Okay. Lisa?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yeah.
And I will vote yes. So we will bring that option to the school committee and get their input and their vote on whether to change that in the regional agreement. A little bit more update on the regional agreement is we still don't have everything else in the agreement settled with DESE. There's another round that I need to go back and forth with them as far as some of the legal language on towns joining and towns withdrawing. They weren't happy with what we had going back and forth. If I bring, once I get from the school committee this new scenario, I can have our legal put that in with a transition period and hopefully get this moving again. Are there any other questions on the regional agreement? A lot of what was changed in there, just for history, really was legal issues. Since 91, there have been a lot of new laws. The ed reforms of 94, came and went without our regional agreement being updated. Some of the other changes that we made was trying to do a rolling average for assessments versus just each year, kind of help any of the towns that kind of have large increases or decreases in their enrollment so that their assessment doesn't drastically change one year to the next. So we put a rolling average in there. We also have a provision in there for a building that is strictly district-wide programs, and that was trying to get out of what the problems that we have with Squanicook. What we have with Squanicook with the assessments is with the capital that was in that building, the capital projects, and the assessment was based on our preschool. It actually wasn't even our preschool enrollment at that time. I think it was the enrollment for the special education programs, because our regional agreement does not include pre-K. So technically, we couldn't even include pre-K in that, and the assessments were wildly changing depending on who from what town was in the special education programs in that school. So just that the capital assessments were very, very difficult. And so basically what was proposed in here is if there are district-wide programs, that it gets assessed on the district-wide distribution of the 3 towns, kind of like the budget does. I think if I remember correctly, those were the major changes, other than things that we had to update for the laws.
So I'm sure, I think you might have said something, but I just want to make sure I understood this. So what is happening with the 3 schools in each town that need to, an elementary school in each town that's part of this region? What's happening with that?
We need to decide. We honestly, as a committee, I was waiting to see what played out this year before continuing with the DESE. It's still up in the air right now. When I did all of the talks with the community members, with the town administrations, everybody was in agreement that a school there should be an operating school in every town, which is why it got put in there in the first place. Unfortunately, we got bogged down between the representation model and some really ridiculous language back and forth that it was just dragging out between us and ESE, that it didn't get brought forth to the towns. And unfortunately, we ended up with this past year, and everybody knows what happens there. So if at the end of this year, if we go forward, and we'll have to know by, I think, January, whether Ashby will be opening up again. If it does not, that would obviously have to be taken out of the agreement. If it does open up again, then we have that question of, do we keep it in?
Okay. Good to know.
Right. What I can do in the meantime, I can, our next meeting is August, so it's a month. I can work a little bit with the attorney to make sure that the other language issues, other than the representation model, are complete with DESE, and maybe talk to them and say, hey, we're putting this forth for these sections only to get your approval. And we'll have the final with the other language after August. And then I can bring it back here, and then we can bring it to the full school committee when we have all of the components together. Oh, you just went silent again.
That would be actually.
What was that?
That would be to meet with the entire school committee about the regional agreement after January, right? Because we have to know.
Or before, if we have any answers beforehand.
Okay. Okay.
It's kind of like once we know all the components. So if the school committee votes to go with the new representation that we just voted to bring to them, then I'll incorporate that in, and then the only question after that would be for whether the statement of every town needs a school.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that I think is very important for, I mean, our regional districts.
I agree. I agree. Unfortunately, I am finding some places that have had to close down schools. They're small districts. You have Narragansett, which is Phillipston and Templeton, I think, or Baldwin. I think Baldwin and Templeton are the same thing. I was very confused by that. But they literally had two elementary schools, one in each town. One had like health issues. It wasn't just that they needed to do repairs on it. There was active health things. They couldn't have kids in the building. I don't remember exactly what they said. Their enrollment had declined to a point where they could consolidate into one building. And they voted to do that, and they closed the school in the smaller town, and that was their only school. But it also was a two-town district that had a much smaller geographical footprint than our district. So we weren't talking about a lot of the logistics issues going back and forth as far as the busing and the distance. So there were different changes there. Don't know, that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, so I haven't had a chance to really kind of look into any of the effects on the communities. But again, being three towns with such a large geographical footprint, we have other issues that we need to, deal with. But I do keep looking. There are not many towns that don't have a school in it. Out west, some of the really large ones may not, but I haven't had a chance to really look into those districts out there. I personally don't believe that it's right for this community, but I'm only
No.
one person, so we have to go with the votes of everybody. So, okay. I think that covered everything. That actually went faster than I thought. I thought we were going to have more on the regional agreement, so that is good. The next meeting is going to be July 22nd. Hopefully, I'll have the ADDA, the JLCB, and the IKF and IKFA for July 22nd that we can vote on, and I will take a closer look and see if there's others that we need to. I will work on those two documents to get everybody's input on the policy review request form and on just our Excel spreadsheet to keep track of all of our policies and when they're on the different dates and when they get presented to the school committee.
Do you remember what policies, because at the end of when we left off our 5-year review,
Yeah.
they kind of got,
Yeah,
some got
yeah.
left out. So where do I leave off?
I will work with you on that, on where we start off, and I plan on making some changes. I'll work with you on the changes to that document, so it makes it a lot easier to know.
Okay, all right, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
And Randy, let me know if you need help with that, with an Excel spreadsheet or anything. Become a master in Excel.
Oh, good.
Let me know, I have time.
Okay, great. I will take you up on that. Are there any other policies anybody knows of that needs to get brought up? Kevin, have you come across anything that needs to get updated that you know of?
Not yet, but I'm still getting familiar with them. So,
Okay, there is a whole section on fiscal policy or fiscal management just for you.
yeah, I mean, Nancy's been doing a great job, helping me through this. So I'm sure I'll be up to speed soon.
Yeah, like I said, anytime you're going through and if you reference a policy and it doesn't quite match what you're doing, it doesn't quite match what you interpret the law to tell you to be doing, bring it up. Our policies are not perfect. They are meant to guide the district, but also to kind of mirror what we can and should be doing and what's lawful to be done. So we want to keep them updated with any changes to either. So
Was and I think it was our May 19th meeting. our school committee meeting, there was a policy brought up that we needed to address. Was that the JCA?
That's right, a school assignment.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll put that on the list. You're right with the changes.
That was the first one that we wanted to kind of address.
All right, I'll make sure that that is brought to the July 22nd. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll bring these back and definitely bring in JCA, now that we know what's going to be happening. And,
Okay.
all right, then I will take a motion to adjourn and give you 20 minutes back to your morning.
Okay, thank you. I move to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Okay. Lisa,
Yes.
Carrie, and I vote yes, the meeting is adjourned at 9:40.